In a world of 7.7 billion people, each person needs to wear clothing, and we have to ask ourselves, where does this clothing come from, and what kind of impact does it have on the environment?
Coming to you live from my kitchen table, we're going to be discussing the impact of the fashion industry on climate change. So our first topic is, what is fast fashion? Fast fashion is mass-produced, standardized, and cheap fashion manufactured for a low cost in mostly developing countries. It is made to be sold and worn only a handful of times. The designs are based on catwalk fashion but brought to market in a much faster timeline, driven by both the fashion industry's constant need for economic growth and the consumer's need for the next best thing or the next best trend. Fast fashion exploits the consumer's needs for the newest garment, the newest technology, or the next best thing that the celebrities are wearing. What consumers don't see are the hours of labor done behind the scenes by workers in less than ideal conditions, or large-scale global impact it has on the environment. The fast fashion industry promotes a consumeristic lifestyle where garments are brought in multiples and quickly thrown out only after a few wears due to poor quality and poor construction. Some fast fashion companies that we'll be discussing later are Forever 21, H&M, and Zara.
Well, I don't really know a lot about it, but I think it's something to do with cheap clothes.
As far as I know, it's the mass-produced supply of consumer clothing that feeds into the ever-growing demand for cheap fashion that's available in many places that can be picked up in a fast way.
Well, I was unfamiliar with the term, but I believe I heard it a couple times, but fast fashion to me means, like, I guess, cheap clothes, fast clothes that you use and just get rid of.
Fast fashion is unsustainable clothing that is used, such brands like Lululemon, H&M, other brands like that.
We live in an age where people are aware of their environmental impact and are making choices to reduce it. But do people know what kind of impact their clothes are making on the environment?
I take the bus to school every day and home every day. I take transit to work. I use reusable bags at the grocery store, and I recycle.
So what I try to do is I try to drive a car that has a lower engine displacement so that I use a little bit less gas when I go out to fill it up. As well, I try to place all my recyclables into the right bins, and I also try to use not recyclable, I try to use reusable water bottles when I can as well, especially when I'm working out or just going to school. It just makes sure that I'm not using as many plastic water bottles that just go to the landfill.
I like to bring my own reusable bags to the grocery store, and when I'm going back and forth for work or for school, I like to bring my own lunch bags as well. Other than that, I always wash my clothes in cold water and try to be sustainable that way.
I reduce my carbon footprint by taking bottles to the bottle recycle.
The life cycle of your clothing starts out by being farmed in farms across the world. Cotton cultivation takes up 2.5% of the world's farmable land and is using about 16% of the world's pesticides. This means that runoff from the nitrogen and the phosphorus pesticides are being put into groundwater and grasshoppering from where they're being grown all the way to the Arctic. The impact can be reduced by using organic cotton. The organic cotton reduces water consumption by 91% and soil eutrophication by 26%, but they create up to 50% less crop yield, so farmers are less willing to harvest organic cotton. Alternatives to cotton would be synthetic fiber. Synthetic fibers are created from petroleum products and emit nitrous oxide, but are consuming less water than cotton is in the process of manufacturing. When polyester or synthetic fibers are washed, they leave traces of microfibers that are polluting the waterways and getting into food chains. Manufacturing the thread into clothing is very energetically expensive, whether it is being woven or knitted. The fabric is treated with dye, bleaches, and undergoes many processes that produce wastewater and that is then put back into the waterways. Toxins that are left from this process will make their way into the water and into the food chain. After being knitted and woven into thread and created into clothing, the fast fashion will then be transported to the marketplace. Transportation is the least energetically expensive part of the fashion industry. After they've been transported, they're put on the floor for consumers to purchase. The consumer phase of the life cycle of a garment is the most energetically expensive. The washing, drying, and disposal creates a lot of waste. Anywhere between 75% and 90% of the waste from the clothing industry comes from the consumer. 80% of the carbon footprint is created in the consumer phase.
Garment will end with it being disposed of, creating post-consumer waste. The average consumer throwing out 68 garments per year that will largely sit in the landfill. Only 16.2% of the textile waste created is recycled for raw materials sold at 5 to 7 cents per kilogram. The rest of the textiles are either sold to other consumers or developing nations. Thrift stores are overwhelmed with the amount of clothing that is brought in, most of it going unpurchased and sent to the landfill. Synthetic products such as nylon and polyester can sit in the landfill for up to 400 years. They sit and produce harmful methane gas up to 4 times their weight. When they biodegrade, they will leach the toxic chemicals that were used to create them back into the groundwater. These chemicals will follow the evaporation and condensation cycles, falling back to the ground as precipitation. These chemicals will move throughout the watershed and can change the pH of water, affecting wildlife and ecosystem. H&M was a real pioneer of fast fashion. A Swedish company that was founded in 1947, it bases itself on bringing garments to market quickly and constantly pushing out new products to match the trends. It has been one of the biggest players in the industry for the past 20 years and continues to post growth in the company year after year. While consumers may love the cheap prices and constantly new items, this is promoting a consumeristic lifestyle and this cycle of unsustainable fashion. H&M in the past 2 years, though, has been facing overstock and in 2017 reported burning some of its garments to power a power plant in Sweden. While the overstock is a large problem, it shows that consumers might be making a choice away from fast fashion and moving towards more sustainable products. Over the past few years, H&M has been praised for moving towards a more sustainable practice. They have a recycling initiative offering customers vouchers for bringing in old clothes, as well as their ethically sourcing recycled and organic materials for some of their clothing lines. However, these clothes can be bought for as little as $10, only further pushing their fast fashion model. Slow fashion is on the rise. Slow fashion is an awareness and approach to fashion which considers the processes and resources required to make clothing, particularly focused on sustainability. The problem that this industry faces today is the cost. Consumers are looking at a $5 shirt that is made in an unsustainable way, or one that is triple or quadruple the price. How do we educate the public to make this the norm, or bring the cost down of a sustainably built shirt to make it more accessible to other people?
I don't think I would because, it's obviously better, but it's not realistic because it's not affordable, and I can buy a $5 shirt that looks the exact same as a $300 shirt.
Well, see, I'm quite driven, especially by price, for example. Price is a big driving factor. So if you have 2 clothes, they're both 2 white shirts, for example, and one is environmentally friendly and one's not, and they're the same price, I would obviously go for the environmentally friendly one. But if I have to pay double the price for the exact same product, I'm not going to necessarily do that, even if one is more environmentally friendly. So I won't spend $10 instead of $5 if one is environmentally friendly. So if the prices become more reasonable, more sustainable for consumers, I believe that not just me, but as well a lot of other people would be more inclined to switch over to more sustainable clothing products.
After hearing the facts, I think I'm more inclined to shop more sustainably, even though it may cost me more, but I guess save me more money in the long run and also be sustainable and helpful for the environment.
It does somewhat change my mind about fashion or unsustainable clothing, and I would like to make less of an impact on the environment.